Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hivemind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. The GOP establishment, specifically the folks like and around Mitch McConnell, are going to backstab President Trump. If you thought that it was going to be different at any point, you are lying to yourselves. You might not want to hear this, but they're going to get behind Joe Biden. In fact, Mitch McConnell's already openly saying it. I've said it a million times. The system does not work in favor of President Donald Trump. It works in favor of status quo, and we all know that it's status quo Joe who the Electoral College has officially picked as the president. And so going forward, unless Donald Trump has some massive, groundbreaking, earth-shattering information, the system will line up behind Joe Biden. That is the uncomfortable, unfortunate truth. And that's exactly where we're headed, whether you like it or not. I notice a lot of people have been getting after me for this one, but look, I've had faith since the start. I've been in it just like you guys, but at some point, you gotta be realistic. And so the GOP has abandoned you, and they've abandoned your president. But the light at the end of the tunnel is that not all GOPers are the same. They're not all cut from the same cloth, and some of them are fighting and fighting back hard. And so it seems going forward, the GOP might fracture, might split, similar to the Democrats, but I'd say probably in a more epic fashion that might lead to either a new party or the reform or the resurgence of what we know as the Trump party or Trumpism within the GOP, which obviously we all know going forward is not going anywhere. To think that the party is going to go back to the days of Mitch McConnell and Mitt Romney and Marco Rubio types is naive to say the least. And so let me show you guys exactly what I mean. Let's cover the GOP and the different elements going forward. But before we get into any of it, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We are still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm, and so you must be subscribed to the channel if you plan on getting our videos effectively. YouTube has essentially nuked us by nearly 60, 70, sometimes 80%. And so the only way that we can grow going forward is with your help sharing the videos. Now with that out of the way, let's roll the tape. All right, so when I told you that Mitch McConnell has of course backstabbed the president, I'm not just saying it, it literally happened. Report: McConnell urges GOP senators to refrain from objecting electoral votes. And it's not just senators, he's also pushing the GOP House as well. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, Republican from Kentucky, reportedly urged GOP senators to refrain from objecting to electoral votes when it comes time to count them in Congress next month, making the remark on a caucus call Tuesday. McConnell, who formally recognized Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as president-elect and vice president-elect on Tuesday, reportedly told colleagues that an objection isn't in the best interest of everybody. McConnell warned that any GOP senator who signed onto a House Republican objection to a state's electoral votes would then force the Senate to debate and vote on the objection, putting fellow GOP senators in a bad position. McConnell was not the only Republican leader to make the request, with Republican Whip Senator John Thune, Republican from South Dakota, and Rules Committee Chairman Senator Roy Blunt, Republican from Missouri, making the same call, though there is no indication currently that any GOP senators plan to object to the results. But there's a very stark contrast between Republicans like Mitch McConnell and a different type of Republican, a more based Chad, absolute mad lad kind of Republican like Governor Ron DeSantis. Florida, you are blessed to have this man as your leader. Here's Republican Ron DeSantis when questioned about acknowledging Joe Biden as president-elect.
You accept Joe Biden as president-elect and you congratulate him?
It's not for me to do. Well, here's what I would say. You know, obviously we did our thing in Florida. The college voted. You know, what's going to happen. But I can tell you, I think a lot of the frustration for folks that supported the president was, you know, we were 4 years with people not accepting him. I mean, Hillary, the last week of the election, was saying Putin stole it.
And so clearly a very stark contrast. The first thing that I gotta say is, Ron DeSantis, you better run for president in 2024. Let's see how your numbers do. I don't think you're gonna beat the Trump if he does in fact run in 4 years, but at least you'll get your name out there, and I wouldn't be surprised if you're number 2, and hopefully you're ahead of Ted Cruz, because for some reason people support that guy. But the second thing that I want to talk about is the clear, abundant hypocrisy of the left when it comes to the 2016 election. They pushed the narrative of Russia, never accepted the results, really, ever. In fact, they openly and actively slandered the GOP and people around Trump as Russian agents for years, not for months, not for weeks, before of course the media and the arbiters of truth, known as our tech oligarchs, came in and controlled the narrative. They did it for years, unopposed, in an unhinged manner with absolute impunity, lobbing baseless claims, flat out disproven lies about a Russian collusion narrative that was more true about them than than it was of the opposing political aisle. And actually, here's Senator Ron Johnson absolutely slamming them on that exact notion. But see, the whole Russia narrative and not accepting President Trump and the endless investigations is not the only hypocrisy here. It's really not. There's another hypocrisy. So what we're talking about here, what Mitch McConnell is talking about, is not accepting the slate of electors that Democrats send. It's about something that is technically constitutional, something that is written in law, which Mitch McConnell might think is bad PR, but just because Mitch, who wouldn't say is great at PR, thinks it's bad politics, doesn't necessarily mean that it's illegal or wrong or even necessarily immoral. And here's where we have the other side, a different kind of Republican, once again, who's fighting back in a different way. His name is Mo Brooks, and he set the record straight real quick on the historical context here, and of course the abundant liberal hypocrisy. Check this out.
I just have to talk about Russian disinformation because the people peddling it are not on my side of the aisle. Senior Democrat leaders, including Ranking Member Peters, were involved in a process of creating a false intelligence product that was supposed to be classified. They leaked to the media that accused Senator Grassley, the President Pro Tem of the Senate, and myself of accepting and disseminating Russian disinformation from Andrei Derkach. I'd never heard of the person until they brought it up. Senator Peters introduced that false information, Russian disinformation, into our investigation record. 50 people associated with the intelligence community after our Hunter Biden investigation and the revelations of the Hunter Biden computer said, "Oh, this is Russian disinformation." Now we find out, no, it's a real investigation by the Justice Department. So it's just galling, and I just have to point out that the purveyors of Russian disinformation, Hillary Clinton's campaign, the DNC, the Steele dossier, the Ranking Member Peters accusing Senator Grassley and I of disseminating Russian disinformation, that's where the disinformation is coming. That's where the false information, the lies, the false allegations. Senator Paul.
Mr. Chairman, I got to respond to that. I mean, you're saying I'm putting out information. Well, one, it had nothing to do with this report.
You lied repeatedly.
I did not.
You lied repeatedly in the press when I was spreading Russian disinformation, and that was an outright lie. And I told you to stop lying, and you continue to do it.
Mr. Chairman, this is not about airing your grievances. I don't know what rabbit hole you're running down.
You
right
talked
now.
about Russian disinformation.
Down rabbit holes.
Senator Paul.
This is simply not what we're dealing with.
Paul.
Well, Mr. Chairman, you can't make these
Judge
false
Starr.
allegations.
Yep. So turns out this whole thing that's unconstitutional and undemocratic, voter suppression, blah, 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 you name it, turns out the Democrats are guilty of it and did the exact same thing in 2016. In fact, we know a ton of electors voted against certifying the results for Donald Trump in 2016. It's just something that we don't talk about because the powers that be don't want you to talk about it. But it's fact, it's history. More importantly, it's extremely recent history, aka the last election. Once again, another element of liberal hypocrisy. Hillary has yet to get over the 2016 election. The Trump derangement syndrome base has yet to get over the 2016 election. But they expect you to get over a very interesting election in 2020, to say the least, instantaneously, overnight. Accept the results, you undemocratic buffoon. You backwards deplorable Republican. How dare you question the results of the election? We totally didn't do the same to you and your Manchurian Russian illegitimate president, who is, by the way, not my president. Absolute hypocrisy. Hypocrisy thy name. And there's also another man which I want to mention in this video, but unfortunately I can't show you what he said. I can't repeat what he said. Welcome to YouTube and the draconian authoritarian leftist measures that they're using. But there's a very, very interesting man, a man who I've had deep admiration for as a political figure for a long time, and as well his father, Senator Rand Paul. And I urge you to check out what he said on the Senate floor. And you know what? Guys like Mitch McConnell are the guys of the past, the old breed of neoconservatism. It's nice to see that the young conservatives who are the future of the party in Ron DeSantis and Rand Paul are operating on a completely different wavelength. And that at least gives me hope for the future. But Rand Paul is holding nothing back and is as based as ever. You gotta love the man. He's a straight shooter and probably one of the most, if not the most respectable man in the Senate. But that's what I got for you guys on this one. The two elements of the GOP, which we will definitely see clash over the next couple weeks, let's say. It's gonna going to be interesting, and of course, you know I'm going to follow it and update you guys on every element as the information releases. Now, if you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We are still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm, hidden from non-subscribed viewers, but now of course I gotta get back to work. There's a whole lot of hypocrisy that must be exposed on a daily basis, so of course, you know, I'm gonna get to that. It's a daily thing, you know the drill. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.